Welcome. I'm so excited to share with you the true depth of what is available in yoga and the spaces that we can enter through this sacred practice. Yoga is an incredibly powerful practice that allows us to deeply connect with our bodies, to open our hearts and to feel our emotions, to quiet the mind and find stillness so that it is able to receive divine inspiration instead of just constantly be chattering away within us. But so much more than any of that, the true purpose of yoga is a spiritual practice, a deep connection or union with all that is. The word yoga itself comes from the Sanskrit word yog, which means to unite or union. So that is the true rooted practice of yoga. It is union with all that is. Connection with that infinite spirit, that being, that essence that is within you, me, around us, above us, below us, in everything, all that is. But most often, especially in Western society, we leave a lot of that out. When we're first beginning our yoga practice, we're typically introduced through asana, through our physical practice of yoga. We are taught that it's a workout, it's an exercise, a physical practice for the body, right? And yes, the physical practice is incredibly important, and it has these amazing abilities to lower our blood pressure, to oxygenate our blood, to expand our lungs, to calm anxiety and stress, to improve symptoms of ADHD and stress and help them concentrate and help people focus and regulate and manage the mind and the emotions, to prevent expressing through anger and learning how to hold steady and stay connected and anchored in each moment. And it is all of that, and so much more. It is so much more than bending deeply and balancing on one hand and lifting your leg in the air. And when we first begin, it's a new practice. So we explore with what we're learning and what we know and what we're being taught. But the true benefits of yoga, they come after time and a commitment to your practice. And not just the asana practice, but the 8 limbs of yoga, which is way more than just that third limb, that physical practice. It is so much deeper than that. As we begin to learn how to study and understand ourselves and how we show up and connect with the world, to live a life that is not harming and connected to everything, as we learn to cultivate our focus and sit deeply in meditation and to be with our breath and take everything, all of those senses inward, as we allow ourselves to be fully concentrated and present with all that is, so we can ultimately reach samadhi one day, right? That 8th limb, that true union with God. But even asana practice, the 3rd limb, it takes time. It's getting to a point where you're not thinking about those postures anymore, but you're fully present, you're in alignment. You've been in that space so many times before that the body knows how to exist peacefully there. And you can feel as you're aligning those meridian lines and your energy is activating and you're building and growing and expanding inside of yourself. And this doesn't come after a week or a month or even a couple years. This is, 10 years into a practice when you get to really deeply understand the spiritual offering that you are engaging in through this practice. And when you can understand that it is a spiritual practice, you can begin to appreciate the fact that this is a devotion to the lineage of yoga, to the sacredness of this practice. Each movement, each posture, each breath returns you to union, to stillness. As you are essentially in prayer, your poses become your prayer on this altar that is your life. This sacred experience, this existence that you get, that I get. Because each of us, we are all a part of God, of Source. And through yoga, we get to experience that. We get to remember that and return to that space of true union. So each and every time you unroll your mat, I ask that you move in a space of honoring as you recognize this sacred knowledge system that you've been gifted, that we have been gifted. Allowing yourself to experience that true devotional relationship with your practice, so that you are honoring your connection and your sense of being with the divine, as every subtle breath and movement and adjustment within your practice takes place. And as your mind can just learn how to move into the subtleness of this movement, this practice, and all of a sudden you're going to experience that you enter into this rare sacredness, this different dimension, someplace different than where we normally exist, and this human experience can be reached through yoga. We get to enter into the deepest awareness of reality. Because there are so many worlds that we can enter into that are revealed to us through this practice. And even entirely different worlds within yourself that you will find during this practice. And as you deepen this practice, this relationship, you will also begin to cultivate those feelings of compassion and understanding for the sacredness of all that is, of all of the beings in the world, and your true deep connection with everything. And that is what this sacred practice teaches us: deep, deep connection, awareness, and union with ourselves, with our body, with our breath, with our mind. And this practice allows us to cultivate this not only on our mat, but off of our mat. When we are in the physical practice, that asana, there are many times that we are pushed to our limit, and that mind comes in and says, that's enough, let's stop, let's remove ourselves, we don't need to be here anymore. And how often does that happen in life when we think that to ourselves, that we can't do this anymore, it's too hard, we have to step away, we have to step out, it's too challenging, right? So when we can practice that on our mats, and we can learn to hold steady, to breathe and focus on that single breath, that single moment, the only moment that there is, instead of focusing on how many more breaths am I going to be here, can we simply focus on one breath right here, right now, the only moment there is, the only moment we have. Because then life becomes so much easier, because we practice this then not only on the mat but off the mat. And we get to learn how to hold steady, to breathe, and understand that everything is just existing in this one single moment that we have. And this true purpose of yoga, this state of union, is only available when you commit yourself to this practice over a long period of time. And more than just that, finding a true practitioner who has studied and understand and embodied the sacredness of this practice, who can actually guide you into this experience of union, this dimension shifting journey that in the Western society we don't often experience, because we're taught that it's a work out, and it is a work in. It is a work in, and it is very rare to find a teacher here in the States who can create that sacred space for you to find yourself, to move into union and tap into that truth of who you are. And I hope with all of my being that you find a true teacher who can share that with you. I'm so grateful I have found a teacher who studied under BKS Iyengar, the master of yoga. So I have been gifted this sacred practice through my teachers. And I'm able to now understand and know yoga at this deep, intimate level that now I can create for my students to enter with me, to join me in this space. So I hope that you gain all of the physical benefits of yoga and the physical practice, but even more so, I hope that you gain that devotional practice of true honoring of the sacred. And you don't have to be religious to practice yoga, but there is a level of understanding that divine essence that is within you, within all things, that connectedness, so that you can understand what it is that you are tapping into and uniting with, around and within you. Because this is the practice with all of life. And we can find deep union with everything, with all that is, and whatever your concept is of the divine. And we get to find that through this devotional practice of yoga. It's beautiful, it is powerful, it is life-changing for all aspects of our being, and it allows us to find that place back home within ourselves. And I hope you find that one day.